Hi, good day everyone. In this particular video session, what I want to do is discuss the solution for the graded discussion number 3. Now the question put before you stated that arguing that chicken back is a basic food item for ordinary citizens, the government of your country imposes a controlled price for chicken back. You were therefore required to identify what type of price control would have been utilized based upon the scenario that was provided to you. Secondly, you needed to provide an explanation as to why you believe that that particular price control that you suggested should have been implemented. And lastly, you needed to state what the implication of such a price control would have been on the market for chicken back. So in my explanation here, we have therefore a demand curve and a supply curve for chicken back. We know that the price of a product is determined in the marketplace where there's equilibrium. And equilibrium is illustrated in a diagram where the demand and supply curve intersect. So in this particular example, I have some prices for chicken back and I have some quantity demanded and supplied of the chicken back. Okay, so I just need to correct that typographical error that was there before. So I have the price of the chicken back, and I have the quantity demanded and supplied of chicken back. So therefore, the market price for chicken back in this particular scenario that I created is $2. And we see that the quantity, the equilibrium quantity in the marketplace is 16 units. So we could say that, okay, if at the price of $2, 16 units or 16 pounds of the chicken back would have been demanded and supplied. Now, it is in the scenario, it states that chicken back is a basic good. So it means that more or less everyone in society would have been consuming this particular product in the nation. And it therefore suggests that because it is a basic necessity, it is a good that consumers should be able to consume. It is a good that consumers should be able to afford. Therefore, if a price control has to be implemented, it should not result in the consumer being made worse off. Rather, that price control which is implemented should result in the consumer being made better off. Now, there are two possible price controls that you can implement: a price floor and a price ceiling. Whichever one should result in a price control, it should result in the consumer being made better off. The price floor is usually implemented above the equilibrium price because it is created to protect the suppliers or the sellers of a good or service, whereas a price ceiling is meant to protect purchasers, demanders, because it is the belief that the market equilibrium price would have been too high. So to protect the consumer, the price should be below equilibrium, the market equilibrium price, and therefore it would result in a price ceiling will be the most reasonable price control to implement in this particular scenario. So we see here that I have provided an explanation as to why I chose this specific price control, which in this case is the price ceiling. Now I placed the price ceiling at $1. So we can say that that the government implemented a price of $1 per unit of the chicken back. Now, what is the implication of the price ceiling being set at $1? Well, we realize that this price of $1 cuts the supply curve here and it cuts the demand curve here. It therefore means that at a price of $1, approximately 8 units of the chicken back would be supplied by the suppliers, because we realize it's cutting the supply curve here. This is our supply curve. So at the price of $1, 8 units would approximately be supplied, and at the price of $1, 24 units of the chicken back will be demanded because it cuts the demand curve at 24 units. So quantity supplied, QS, is equal to 8 units. quantity demanded is equal to 24 units. We realize therefore that the amount of people that demand, or the amount of units that are being demanded, far exceed the amount of units that will be supplied by the market. Remember, consumers always demand more when the price falls. However, suppliers are willing to supply less when the price falls. So we see therefore that the implication of a price control, in this case a price ceiling, will result in the quantity demanded exceeding the quantity supplied, and therefore it results in a shortage of 16 units in this particular example because I used actual figures. So ultimately, we realize that in this scenario, seeing that chicken back is a commodity, a basic commodity that more or less is utilized by the general population, it means that the government would not want to implement a price control that would result in the majority of the nation being made worse off. Therefore, the price control needed to be a price ceiling, which is usually implemented below the market equilibrium price, therefore allowing a lower price for the said commodity. And we know that when the price falls, suppliers are willing to supply less, however, consumers are willing to demand more. So therefore, as demand increases, supply falls from that equilibrium position, which results in a shortage. And in this case, we realize that with the numeral examples, or the numbers placed, we realize that there's a shortage of 16 units. So ultimately, that's the implication. And if we want to carry the thought even further, this shortage means that there is a possibility that we can see black market operations beginning to come into existence, because people realize that, okay, there is a huge demand for chicken back, but the supply is not sufficient, and therefore you may see the black market appearing, the presence of a black market, people supplying chicken back at slightly, even possible, higher prices because the demand is high, supply is low. So a further implication, apart from the shortage, is that out of the shortage of chicken back, we could see black market operations beginning to come into play within the economy. And that's more or less the answer for this particular graded discussion question. Thank you, and I hope the explanation was clear, and that, continue to revisit the video until the process and the understanding of price controls become clear to you. Thank you. Take care.